Hey folks, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about backup strategies for EC2. So in the DevOps doctrine, let's click our EC2 Backup Strategies button. And when we're talking about backup strategies, there are several scenarios. We can back up EBS, we can back up RAID volumes, and we do this with snapshots. Now, the good thing about snapshots is that they're stored in S3 buckets, which are incredibly durable. Another thing we can do is we can create AMIs from our EC2 instances. Now, another thing we're going to talk about is hot backups, and that's in a situation where when we have I/O intensive instances, we have to take a hot backup during regular operations. So we'll touch on that a bit as well. So again, the unsung hero in all of this is the S3 bucket. The S3 bucket is much more durable than the EBS volumes. So backing up our snapshots to the S3 bucket is a key part of this scenario. Now, it should be pretty clear by now that this certainly can be part of an effective DR strategy. Copying your snapshots to S3 and also AMIs. In a DR situation, you can have AMIs and snapshots available to quickly ramp up your environment even in a different region. So not only are backup strategies a big part of everyday operations, but they're going to be a big part of your DR strategies as well. Now, snapshots can be created from API calls, including SDKs, CLI, the console. We'll see this from the console and also show some examples from the CLI. Nice thing about the CLI is we can script our backups, and I'll talk through an example of that as well. It's important to understand how snapshots work. The first snapshot copies the entire volume to S3, but subsequent snapshots are incremental and only stores block level changes since the last snapshot. Let's talk a little bit about automated backups. We can do this with CLI commands, scripts. We can create cron jobs. So let's go into key concepts. All right, so let's think of a scenario where we want to retain snapshots for 30 days. So we can have a cron job, and using the CLI command, remember our namespace, AWS EC2, our command is create snapshot. We provide volume ID. So we're creating a snapshot. We can also then describe snapshots. So we're going to get a list of the snapshots, and details aren't here, but some of that information could be the age of these snapshots based on a timestamp. And then in our script, we could have some logic checking the timestamp of each snapshot. And if the snapshot is older than 30 days, we can go ahead and delete the snapshot. So with just these three commands, a cron job, and a little bit of logic, you can automate your backups, and you can retain backups for a specified amount of time, delete old backups. So let's go back to our diagram. Let's talk a bit more about hot backups. Hot backups occur while the volume is performing I/O operations. So when taking hot backups, it's recommended to flush the cache and temporarily pause I/O operations. So doing this will get your system in a state where the I/O operations are frozen. And this will allow you to get a consistent backup. Now, there are situations where you can't freeze the file system. And what you can do alternatively is to unmount the volumes, create the snapshot, and then remount the volume. When we're talking about taking snapshots of RAID volumes, It's also required in this case to stop I/O operations and flush the cache to disk. So it's pretty much the same process, but the key is that the I/O operations need to be frozen. And another great option for us is the AMI. The AMI gives us a baseline image from which we can build new instances. And this is a really great option for disaster recovery, especially if you don't have a really low recovery time objective. And we'll see here shortly that this is pretty quick anyway, just a few minutes. So this is definitely a valuable tool in your tool chest for DR, thinking about scenarios and use cases. And when you're talking about disaster recovery, certainly the snapshot and the AMI are very important tools for disaster recovery. And when we start thinking about certification exams, we like to think about keywords. So when you see disaster recovery, just automatically start thinking about snapshots and AMIs. And again, unless your recovery time objective is extremely low, these are going to be very useful in those situations. So with an AMI, we can quickly launch an exact copy of our instance. Now, another thing with AMIs is that we can pre-bake AMIs with application code, configuration, software. And in this way, when we have these pre-baked AMIs available, we can reduce bootstrapping time by reducing the steps needed to get an instance ready to serve traffic. So think about that. We're bootstrapping and we know all about lifecycle hooks now. And the lifecycle hook's going to freeze that instance in a wait state, allowing our bootstrapping to occur. But with pre-baked AMIs, we can speed up this bootstrapping process and get our instances in service faster. So that's an overview of EC2 Backup Strategies. Now let's go to the console and take a look at some of this in action. All right, so we have one running instance, and our instance has an EBS volume. Let's click on Snapshots, Create Snapshot, and select our volume. And we'll call it Full Snapshot. This is the first snapshot we've taken of this EC2 instance. So it's not going to be of the incremental variety. This will be the entire volume. Let's click Create Snapshot. And let's go check out our snapshot. And you can see it's not quite ready yet, but we do have a progress indicator. And this is an 8 gig volume. Now, while we're doing that, let's go back over to EC2, go to Actions, Image, Create Image. Now, check out No Reboot. When enabled, Amazon EC2 does not shut down the instance before creating the image. When this option is used, file system integrity on the created image cannot be guaranteed. So let's leave that alone and click Create Image, Request Received, and let's view the pending image. All right, so there is our pending image. Let's go check on our snapshot, and the snapshot is completed. And that took less than 5 minutes. Back to the AMI, and we'll just hang out until our AMI is ready. All right, so our AMI is available. Now, let's go to Actions and copy AMI. So we're going to copy this AMI to another region. Let's say that we've already had this AMI. So we've created this AMI. We want to copy it to another region. This other region is going to be our region for DR. I'll select US East, Northern Virginia, and click Copy AMI. So we're placing this AMI in another region, and it's there waiting for our worst case scenario, a DR situation. Now, you want to have a plan to keep these up to date, but having a fresh AMI in another region is going to be one of your tools for disaster recovery. All right, so our copy completed, and I noted the new AMI ID. So I'm going to go ahead and switch regions to Northern Virginia. My new AMI is here. It's not quite ready yet, and this is pretty much real time, so this is just a couple minutes. All right, so our AMI is available in our new region. And presuming we are in a DR situation, we have this AMI sitting here waiting for just this occasion. Let's go to Actions, and let's click Launch. Just accept the defaults. Choose a key pair, launch our instance. Let's go to View Instances. A new instance is launching from our AMI, an exact replica of our instance in our other region. So really, in the time it takes to launch a new instance, we could be up and running in another region. It's ready already. So again, the AMIs and the snapshots are important tools for disaster recovery. And with that, we have completed looking at EC2 Backup Strategies. So go ahead and mark this lesson complete, and let's move on to the next.